Imagine returning to your favorite place in the world.
Okay.
Maybe it's a park where you played, cricket as a kid, or a quiet corner of a library, maybe just a specific bench with a nice view where you used to just sit and think.
I have a place like that in mind.
Right. So you've been away for a few years, you're excited to see it, you turn the corner expecting that rush of familiarity and it's gone.
Erased.
Worse than erased. It's been dug up. A massive pit in the ground. You've got construction crews yelling, concrete mixers spinning, dust just everywhere.
Oh, that's a specific kind of heartbreak, isn't it?
It is, yes. Someone, what's going on? And they just shrug and say, oh, we're building a massive commercial complex here. Flats, shops, the works.
It's that sinking feeling of realizing the world isn't a painting. It's not static. It doesn't wait for you.
Exactly. It changes. And that emotional beat, that's what helps us segue into our source material for today.
Right.
We are looking at the story of Ravi, a young student from the NCERT Class 7 geography textbook. And he comes back to school after a long vacation, expecting to see his playground, the one with the soft grass and the orange marigolds and the butterflies.
The idyllic spot.
And he finds a construction site. He's practically in tears.
It's a very relatable start for a geography textbook, I have to say.
It is.
Usually they just start with, dry definitions or coordinates. But here they start with loss. They start with the human impact.
When Ravi asks his teacher, what is happening? She gives him an answer that sounds so simple, but is actually the first domino in a very, very long chain.
What does she say?
She just says, see how our environment is changing.
And that right there is the hook. That's our starting point for today. But before we get lost in the nostalgia of lost playgrounds, we really need to clarify our mission here.
Good point.
Because looking at the title, some listeners might be thinking, Class 7 Geography. Really? I'm preparing for the civil services. I need high-level policy analysis, not stories about 7-year-olds.
Right. It's so easy to dismiss. But that's the trap, isn't it?
It is.
So many aspirants, they treat NCERTs as basics to be skimmed. They think, okay, I know what a tree is, I know what a building is, let's just move on.
But if you look closely, and that is exactly what we're doing today, this chapter, Environment, it's the seed. It's the seed for some of the most complex questions asked in the civil services mains and prelims.
So we aren't just reading a textbook.
No, not at all. We are decoding the foundation of the UPSC syllabus. We are going to trace the line from Ravi's little playground all the way to high-level tectonic analysis, tsunami formation, and even the ethical dilemmas of sustainable development.
We are bridging the gap between the 7th grade and the IAS officer.
That's the goal.
So welcome, everyone, to this special Deep Dives. This is the Foundation of the Earth episode, and it's powered by the Simplified UPSC by PPP YouTube channel.
We have a lot of ground to cover, literally.
We do. And before we jump into, the Lithosphere and the Biosphere, just a humble request to all of you listening. This deep dive, it's designed to save you time and deepen your understanding. So if you find value in what we do, please subscribe to the Simplified UPSC by PPP channel. And if you are capable, please consider supporting us on Patreon.
It really is your support that allows the team to keep the lights on and the research, deep. Creating these comprehensive breakdowns takes a lot of resources.
Absolutely. And on that note, a massive heartfelt shout out to all our current supporters. You guys are the real MVPs. You're the ones who help us create this content.
We really appreciate it.
Also, engagement matters. So please don't forget to like the video and share your valuable comments. We do read them, and they help the algorithm find other learners just like you.
And one last crucial bit of housekeeping before we really get started.
Yes. For those of you who are panic searching for a pen to take notes, relax. We've got you covered. Free notes with practice PYQs, that's past year questions, are available on the public Telegram channel.
But if you want the full experience...
Right, if you want to access all the videos of this series at once, along with the organized premium notes, and these include detailed breakdowns, extra PYQs, even model mains answers, you need to join the private Telegram library.
And how do they do that?
It's simple. Just DM us on the public Telegram channel to join. It's the ultimate resource pack for this series.
Okay, housekeeping done.
Housekeeping done. Let's get back to Ravi and his destroyed playground.
Let's do it. So Ravi asks his teacher, what is environment? And the teacher gives a definition that sounds, well, deceptively simple.
What is it?
She says, whatever you see in your surroundings.
Which Ravi then interprets as, well, everything. The school building, the tables, the chairs in the classroom, the open field, the road, even the garbage, his friends.
Yeah.
He realizes all of that. All of it is the environment.
And he's right. But let's put our UPSC hats on now and start peeling back the layers of that simple definition.
Okay.
The word itself, environment, it comes from the French word environner or environner.
I do love a good etymology lesson. So what does it mean?
It literally means neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
Simple enough. It is. It's everything that surrounds an organism.
Yep.
But the text provides a diagram that breaks this neighborhood down into 3 crucial components. And this is where the complexity really starts to creep in.
Right. I'm looking at that diagram now. It's a 3-pronged map. You've got component 1, natural, component 2, human-made, and then component 3 is just human.
Let's walk through these because that third one usually trips people up.
Okay.
Natural is the obvious one. Land, air, water, living things. This is what we typically think of when we say, save the environment.
Sure. Trees, tigers, rivers, the classic stuff.
Exactly. Then you have human-made, also pretty straightforward.
Right. Buildings, parks, bridges, roads, monuments, industries. It's the built environment. It's what replaced Ravi's playground.
Precisely. But then you have the third one, human, which is distinct from human-made.
Yeah. And the diagram lists things like an individual, then family, community, religion, educational, economic, and even political situation.
Now, this is a critical distinction. Let me ask you, why on earth would religion or political situation be considered part of your environment?
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it surrounds you, but it's not physical. It's not tangible like a mountain or a building.
No, it's not physical matter, but it is the context in which you exist. Think about it for a second. If you live in a region with a really volatile political situation, say a conflict zone, does that affect your survival?
Of course.
Does it affect your ability to grow food or to go to school or to access clean water?
Absolutely. It probably affects it more than the local soil type does in that case.
Exactly. An individual interacts with their family, their community, their economic system. These things are intangible, sure, but they are absolutely part of the ecosystem of a human life.
So when you're analyzing a region for the UPSC mains, let's say you're looking at development in a tribal area. You can't just look at the lithosphere, the land. You have to look at this human component, the culture, the community structure, the politics.
That is what this 7th grade chart is quietly teaching you. It's a massive hint.
That's a really powerful reframing. It expands the definition from just biology and geology to include sociology and politics.
It's all one soup.
It's all one soup. I like that.
It is. Now, within that natural environment, that first prong of the diagram, the text makes another split, a really fundamental one.
Okay, what's that?
Biotic and abiotic.
Right. These sound like standard biology terms from school.
They are, but they are absolutely vital for understanding the questions we're going to look at later. Biotic is the world of living organisms, so plants and animals.
The living stuff.
And abiotic is the world of non-living elements, so land, water, air, sunlight.
So living versus non-living, it seems pretty basic. Why is this distinction so relevant for an aspirant?
Because every single complex ecological question stems from the interaction between these two. You can't just study them in silos.
What do you mean?
Well, how does an abiotic factor, like, say, temperature, determine which biotic elements, like vegetation, can survive in a place?
Okay, so if I'm looking at a desert, the abiotic factor is the lack of water and the intense heat.
Correct. And that abiotic reality forces the biotic life, the camels, the cactus, to adapt in very specific ways.
I see.
So when we get to these big questions about ecological balance, what we are essentially asking is the abiotic environment supporting the biotic environment? Or have we humans messed up the abiotic factors, like air quality, so badly that the biotic factors, namely us, can't survive?
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. We have the components. Now, let's unpack that natural environment a bit further. The text divides it into 4 domains.
The big 4.
The big 4 of physical geography. The lithosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, and the biosphere.
This is the core of it. If you master these 4, you master the basics of how the planet works. Let's start with the ground right beneath our feet, the lithosphere.
Right. The text defines it as the silid crust, the hard top layer of the Earth. It says it's made of rocks and minerals and covered by a thin layer of soil.
And here is the key phrase from the source that we need to circle, highlight, and underline.
What is it?
It is an irregular surface with various landforms such as mountains, plateaus, plains, and valleys.
Irregular surface.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very polite way of saying the ground is bumpy.
It is bumpy, but that bumpiness is everything. It's the whole story. The text mentions that these landforms are found over the continents and also on the ocean floors.
Okay.
Now, let's connect this to the exam. Let's make that jump. Why is the surface irregular? Why isn't the Earth just smooth like a billiard ball?
Well, I assume because of the mountains and the valleys. Why did they get there in the first place? The text does mention the Earth is dynamic.
Dynamic is the polite word for. Well, for violent.
A laugh.
The lithosphere isn't one solid shell like an egg. It's cracked. It's made of plates that are constantly moving, crashing into each other and pulling apart. That irregularity they mentioned in Class 7, that's plate tectonics.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. You're linking this simple phrase directly to the mains questions.
I am. Let's look at 2014 mains question 17. It asked, and I'm quoting here, why are the world's fold mountain systems located along the margins of continents? Bring out the association between the global distribution of fold mountains and the earthquakes and volcanoes.
Whoa. Okay, that is a big jump from irregular surface.
But is it really? The NCERT tells you the surface is irregular and it includes mountains. The UPSC asks why those mountains are where they are.
So it's the next logical question.
It is. Imagine two cars crashing in very, very slow motion. What happens to the hoods?
They crumple up, right? The metal folds.
That fold is a fold mountain. The Himalayas are just the result of the Indian plate crashing into the Eurasian plate. The irregularity is the crash site. The NCERT introduces the result. The UPSC demands you explain the mechanics of the crash.
And that would also explain the earthquakes and volcanoes part of the question, too. The crash isn't quiet. It's violent.
Exactly. It's incredibly violent. So when Ravi's teacher says the environment provides land where we live, she's talking about a very active, constantly shifting piece of real estate. We are essentially living on a raft that is constantly bumping into other rafts.
This connects directly to 2025 mains question 16 as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Discuss how the shapes and sizes of continents and ocean basins change due to tectonic movements.
Precisely. The shape of the continents, the very map of the world we're used to, is just a snapshot in time.
It's not permanent.
Not at all. The lithosphere is moving. If you understand the NCERT definition that the lithosphere includes the ocean floors, then you understand that the floor of the Atlantic Ocean is actually spreading apart right now. It's not static.
So the lithosphere provides us with forests, grazing lands, mineral wealth, all the things the text says. But its very shape is constantly being rewritten by these deep internal forces.
Correct. Now let's look at the second domain, the liquid part of our world, the hydrosphere.
Right, the domain of water. Rivers, lakes, seas, oceans. The text says it's essential for all living organisms.
Which is true, of course. But again, let's go deeper. The hydrosphere isn't just a big bucket of water. It's a massive energy distribution system. And it's a geological force.
What do you mean by a geological force? Water shaping rock.
Yes, but even more dramatically, look at 2025 mains. Question 7. What are tsunamis? How and where are they formed? What are their consequences?
A tsunami is essentially the hydrosphere reacting violently to a disturbance in the lithosphere, right?
Exactly. It's an interaction. It's a perfect example. We just talked about the irregular surface and the moving plates. Well, if one of those plates shifts suddenly underwater, that's the lithosphere. It displaces a massive column of water above it. That's the hydrosphere.
And that energy has to go somewhere.
And it travels across the ocean as a tsunami. You see, the NCERT introduces them as separate domains for clarity, but the exam asks about their collision. You can't explain a tsunami if you only understand water as something we drink. You have to understand it as a heavy, moving mass with incredible force.
That makes perfect sense. And there's another connection to the 2025 paper, isn't there? Question 14 asks for a geographical explanation of offshore oil reserves versus onshore.
This is a favorite of mine because it connects 3 domains at once.
3.
Lithosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere.
Okay, break that down for me. I know oil is drilled from the seabed, so that's lithosphere and hydrosphere. Where does the biosphere come in?
Well, how did the oil get there in the first place?
From dead things.
Dead things is right. Millions and millions of years ago, tiny marine plants and animals, that's the biosphere,
Sorry.
died. They sank to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, onto the lithosphere.
They were covered by layers and layers of sand and silt. The immense pressure and heat over millions of years cooked them and turned them into oil.
So when we drill for oil offshore, we're literally harvesting ancient biospheres that got trapped in the lithosphere under the hydrosphere.
That's a mouthful, but yes. That is exactly it. You see, these domains are not separate chapters in a book. They are layers of the same story. If you treat them separately, you fail the exam. If you see the connection, you ace it.
There's one more hydrosphere connection here, 2014 mains, question 19. Why tropical cyclones are confined to the South China Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Gulf of Mexico.
Ah, cyclones. That's the hydrosphere, shaking hands with the atmosphere.
It's the warm water that powers the storm, right?
Yes, absolutely. The ocean acts as a giant rechargeable battery. The sun heats the water in the hydrosphere. That warm water evaporates and warms the air above it in the atmosphere.
Which causes it to rise and spin.
And you get a cyclone. You cannot answer that question if you don't understand that the hydrosphere is essentially a heat engine.
That is a fantastic way to visualize it. It's not just water, it's a heat engine. It's all interconnected. Which brings us, naturally, to the third layer, the atmosphere.
The thin layer of air that surrounds the Earth. Our blanket.
The text mentions a very specific mechanism here. It's held in place by the gravitational force of the Earth.
That's a crucial fact. So simple, but so important. Without gravity, we have no atmosphere. It would just drift away into space.
And without the atmosphere, we have no protection from the sun's scorching heat or its harmful ultraviolet rays.
We'd be toast, literally.
The text also makes a really cool distinction between weather and climate. I love the analogy they used here.
The radio one.
Yeah, it says if the body is a radio and the mind is the speaker, then weather is something that fiddles with its control knobs.
It's a bit of a quirky analogy, but it works to explain the volatility, doesn't it? Weather is the hour-to-hour, day-to-day condition. It's dramatic. It changes constantly. It's the answer to, should I take an umbrella to the market today?
Whereas climate is, do I even need to own a heavy winter coat at all?
Exactly. Climate is the average weather condition over a very long period, usually 30 years or more. It's the personality, not the mood.
And the UPSC loves this distinction. Just look at 2014 Maine's question 16 about El Nino. It says, most of the unusual climatic happenings are explained as an outcome of the El Nino effect. Do you agree?
El Nino is such a fascinating example of this. It's a climate phenomenon. It's a large-scale warming of the Pacific Ocean, but it causes all these unusual climatic happenings.
Which basically just means crazy weather all over the globe.
Exactly. Droughts in India, massive floods in Peru, the climate pattern shifts, and the weather goes haywire.
So understanding the atmosphere isn't just about naming the gases like nitrogen and oxygen. It's about understanding these massive interconnected systems.
And understanding what drives them, what makes them tick. Let's look at a prelims question to see how they test the mechanics of it all. 2013 prelims, question 18. It listed several factors, like electromagnetic radiation, gravitational force, rotation of the Earth, and it asked, which of the above are responsible for bringing dynamic changes on the surface of the Earth?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Because the NCERT says gravity holds the atmosphere in place.
It does. Gravity holds it down. It keeps the blanket on the bed, so to speak.
So it provides the stability.
But what makes the blanket move? What makes the wind blow? What drives the change?
Well, the sun.
Solar energy, which is electromagnetic radiation. It heats the air, making it rise, and the rotation of the Earth spins the air. That's the Coriolis force.
So while gravity is the container, the sun and the Earth's rotation are the stirrers.
Perfectly put. The atmosphere is a fluid machine, and those are the forces that power it.
This is great. We've got the rock, the lithosphere, we have the water, the hydrosphere, and we have the air, the atmosphere. But frankly, if we stop there, it's just a dead planet. It's Mars.
Exactly. It's just physics and chemistry until we get to the fourth and final domain, the special one.
The biosphere.
The living world.
The text calls it the narrow zone, where land, water, and air interact to support life.
It's the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. It's the only place we know of in the entire universe where life exists. And this leads us directly into the next big concept.
The ecosystem.
The web of life.
Okay, let's unpack section 3 of our outline. Ecosystems, the web of life. The Talmud defines an ecosystem as a system formed by the interaction of all living organisms with each other and with the physical and chemical factors of the environment.
The key words there are interaction and, another one, transfer of energy.
Right.
It's not just a list of animals you find in a forest. It's a web. Who eats whom? Who rots into the soil to feed the plants? Who drinks the water from the stream? It's a functional, living unit.
The text uses a great story to illustrate this. We meet two kids at an NCC camp. There's Jesse from Kerala and Hira from Jaisalmer in Rajasthan.
I love this comparison. It's a classic effective geography trope. You took two extremes.
It is. Jesse talks about pouring rain and lush green fields and coconut plantations. It's all green and wet.
The classic image of Kerala.
But then Hira, on the other hand, says, we get no rains. We see only a kikar, which is acacia, and sand as far as the eyes can see. But then he adds this great line. but you also find camels.
This illustrates perfectly that the environment defines the biology. You just don't find coconut trees in the middle of Jaisalmer, and you don't find camels chilling in the rainforests of Kerala.
It seems obvious when you say it like that.
It does, but there's a deeper scientific principle at play here, isn't there?
Adaptation.
It's all about adaptation. Hera doesn't see camels there by accident. The abiotic factor, the lack of water, forces a very specific biotic adaptation, which is the camel's incredible ability to store water and survive.
So the environment dictates the biology. And by extension, the biology dictates the role that an organism plays.
Exactly. And this brings us to a concept that trips up a lot of students, but it appeared directly in the 2013 prelims, question 48. The concept of the ecological niche.
I remember this one. The question asked, which one of the following terms describes not only the physical space occupied by an organism, but also its functional role in the community of organisms?
And the answer is ecological niche. But let's break that down, because niche is one of those jargon words. What is the real difference between a habitat and a niche?
I think most people use them interchangeably, where an animal lives.
And that's the common mistake. Think of it this way. Your habitat is your address. Your niche is your profession.
Oh, I like that. That clicks immediately.
So let's go back to Ravi's playground before it was destroyed. There's a butterfly there.
Okay.
Its habitat might be the marigold plant. That's where it lives. That's its address. But what is its job? What's its profession?
Well, it drinks nectar from the flower. And it pollinates other flowers.
Exactly. Its job is pollination. It's also a food source for birds. That is its niche, its functional role. If you remove the butterfly, the marigold doesn't get pollinated, and the local bird doesn't get to eat. The profession becomes vacant, and the whole economy of the garden starts to collapse.
That is such a helpful analogy. So when the NCERT mentions interaction, it's really talking about these complex professional relationships between species.
Yes, and the UPSC tests your understanding of those relationships. Look at 2013 prelims question 22 about grasslands. It asks, in the grasslands, trees do not replace the grasses as a part of an ecological succession because of.
Let me guess. Is it because the giraffes eat all the baby trees?
That's a common guess, and it's not a bad one. But no, the options included insects, lack of sunlight, and then water limits and fire. And the answer is water limits and fire.
Okay, explain that mechanism for me.
Grasslands are usually in areas that get some rain, but not quite enough to support a dense forest, so that's your water limit. But more importantly, grasslands are prone to seasonal fires.
Right.
When a fire sweeps through, it kills tree saplings because their growing points are high up and exposed. But grasses, their roots are safe underground. After the fire, they grow right back, stronger than ever.
So the niche for a large tree, its profession, simply doesn't exist in that environment because the environment keeps, well, firing it.
Exactly. The abiotic factors set the rules of the game.
Okay, one more on Ecosystems 2013 Prelims, question 23. This one asks for the correct sequence of ecosystems in order of decreasing productivity.
Right. Productivity in ecology basically means how much biomass are you creating, how much life are you churning out per square meter.
The options compared mangroves, oceans, grasslands, and lakes. I think my first instinct would be that the ocean is huge, so it must be the most productive, right?
That's the trap, and it's a very common one. The open ocean is actually a biological desert.
Really?
Per square meter, it produces very little life because all the nutrients sink down to the bottom where there's no sunlight for photosynthesis. Mangroves, on the other hand, are absolute factories of life. You have shallow water, tons of sun, and a constant supply of nutrients from the land.
So the correct answer would place mangroves right at the top of that list.
Yes. The correct sequence is mangroves, then grasslands, then lakes, and finally, the vast but relatively empty oceans. This goes right back to the NCERT definition of an ecosystem, linked by transfer of energy. Some systems are just way more efficient at transferring that energy into life.
It really emphasizes that you can't just memorize definitions. You have to understand the mechanics of the energy flow.
Absolutely. That's the whole game.
Okay, let's move on to section 4, human environment. This is where the story gets a bit darker, a bit more complicated. The text makes this clear distinction between early humans and modern humans.
It's the story of our species, really. Early humans, it says, adapted to their natural surroundings. They led a simple life. If it was cold, they sought caves. If they were hungry, they hunted what was available. They didn't try to change the temperature or farm the animals on a mass scale.
They were passengers on the bus.
The perfect way to put it. They were passengers. But then we decided we wanted to drive the bus.
And the text lists the key milestones in that takeover. We learned to grow crops. We started domesticating animals. We developed a settled life. And then the big one,
The wheel.
the wheel.
The wheel is huge. It allowed for efficient transport and, critically, for surplus. Suddenly, you didn't just have enough food for your family for today. You had enough to store and enough to trade. This led to the barter system trade without money.
Goods for goods.
Right. Then came the Industrial Revolution, which is a massive accelerator. And now we're in the Information Revolution. The text says we modify nature to suit our needs. But then Ravi's teacher drops the hammer.
What does she say?
She warns him, we are therefore modifying and at times even destroying our natural surroundings.
And that is the crux of the modern environmental crisis, isn't it? We have moved from adaptation to, well, to exploitation. We don't just live in the environment anymore, we engineer it.
We do. The text gives simple examples. Car fumes polluting the air. Water being collected in pots, which alters its natural flow. Land being cleared and used for factories.
This brings us to the concept of sustainable development. Even if the Class 7 text doesn't use that exact fancy term yet, it talks about needing a perfect balance.
A perfect balance is necessary between the natural and human environment. That's the quote.
Right. But balance is such a nice, clean word that I think it hides a really brutal reality.
It does. Let's connect it to 2016 mains question 19. Achieving sustainable growth with emphasis on environmental protection could come into conflict with poor people's needs in a country like India.
Wow. That question hits hard, because the text explicitly says that humans modify the environment to fulfill their needs.
Exactly. Early humans had simple needs: food, shelter. Modern humans have incredibly complex needs. But for a developing nation, a need might be building a factory to provide thousands of jobs, even if that factory pollutes the local river.
So the conflict is, do we protect the river or do we feed the families who desperately need jobs at that factory?
That is the dilemma. And the UPSC wants you to wrestle with that. The NCERT says we are destroying nature. The UPSC asks, okay, we hear you, but if we stop destroying it in this way, do people starve? How do we balance these two critical needs?
It's not as simple as pollution is bad. It's, is pollution the necessary price of poverty alleviation?
Precisely. And if we get that balance wrong, the consequences are catastrophic.
Yeah.
Look at 2025 mains question 4. How are climate change and sea level rise affecting the very existence of many island nations?
That's the ultimate consequence of modifying the environment, isn't it? We burned fossil fuels for the Industrial Revolution. We warmed the atmosphere, which melted ice from the lithosphere, which raised the level of the hydrosphere.
And now, entire nations, entire cultures are on the verge of sinking. It's a direct traceable line from the Industrial Revolution mentioned in Chapter 1 to the sinking islands in the 2025 exam.
There's also a mention in the 2025 paper about population density in the Ganga River Basin. That's question 17.
Yes. Discuss the distribution and density of population in the Ganga River Basin with special reference to land, soil, and water resources.
That ties back perfectly to the human settlements part of the text, right?
Yeah.
It says that settlements grew near river valleys because water was available and the land was fertile.
Exactly. Civilization started in river valleys for a reason. The Indus, the Nile, the Tigris. And today, the Ganga Basin is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Why? Because the natural environment, the fertile soil, the abundant water supports the human environment, the agriculture, the economy.
But that same high density then puts an immense pressure back on that very ecosystem.
It's a feedback loop, a vicious cycle sometimes. The river attracts the people. The people, in large numbers, pollute the river. The polluted river then harms the people.
So we have this fundamental tension. We need the environment to survive, but our very survival activities seem to damage the environment.
That is the defining conflict of the 21st century. And Ravi's playground being dug up to build flats is just a perfect little microcosm of that entire global struggle. We need the flats for the human environment, but we lose the playground from the natural environment.
Okay, before we wrap up all the heavy analysis, let's hit section 5, practical takeaways and trivia. There are some fun little nuggets in this chapter that are actually quite relevant for prelims facts.
Facts are important. Don't skip them. First one up, World Environment Day.
June 5th. Every single year. Mark your calendars.
Also, the textbook has a crossword puzzle. It asks students to find words like ocean, forest, deserts.
It's a cute activity, but honestly, it reinforces the core vocabulary. And then there's the ideal environment activity. The text asks students to draw their ideal place.
And you know what's fascinating about this? Even when kids who have grown up in dense cities do this, they almost always draw trees, water, birds, and clear blue skies.
No one ever draws a smoggy factory or a traffic jam as their ideal.
Never. And what does that tell us?
It tells us that we have an innate, maybe biological connection to the biosphere. We are of nature, even if we happen to live in concrete boxes. We crave the green.
That's a beautiful thought. We are fundamentally wired for the biosphere.
We are, and that's why the destruction of it feels so jarring. Just like Ravi seeing his playground being dug up, it's not just a loss of physical space, it's a loss of connection. It feels personal.
Mm.
So let's try to summarize this entire journey. We started with a very simple definition. Environment is our surroundings.
From there, we broke it down into the lithosphere, the stage, the hydrosphere, the energy system, the atmosphere, the climate engine, and finally the biosphere, the players on the stage.
We saw how they all interact to form ecosystems, these complex systems of energy transfer and what we call professional niches.
And then we saw how humans have moved from being passive actors in this play to active and often destructive modifiers of the entire system.
And I think most importantly, we saw how this seemingly simple 7th grade chapter is the absolute foundation for understanding tsunamis, oil reserves, full mountains, and the deep ethical debates around sustainable development in the UPSC Civil Services exam.
The so what here is crystal clear. You cannot build a skyscraper without a solid foundation. You cannot write a good mains answer about climate change if you don't fundamentally understand the interaction between the atmosphere and the hydrosphere.
Oh.
This chapter isn't baby stuff, it's the blueprint.
Well said. We've decoded the foundation. Now it's up to you, the listener, to build on it.
Absolutely. The tools are there.
And speaking of building, we are trying to build a community here. So once again, just a gentle reminder to please subscribe to Simplified UPSC by PPP. If this deep dive helped you connect the dots between Ravi's playground and plate tectonics, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It really does keep this content coming.
And a huge, huge shout out again to our supporters who are already there. You really do make this possible.
And don't forget to like this video and share your valuable comment. What stood out to you? Did that address versus profession analogy for ecological niche make sense? Let us know.
We really do want to hear from you.
And remember, the free notes with the practice PYQs, they are waiting for you on the public Telegram channel. Go and grab them.
But if you want the VIP treatment.
Right. If you want access to all the videos of this series at once, the organized premium notes, the detailed breakdowns, extra PYQs, and the model mains answers, you should join the private Telegram library.
Just DM us on the public Telegram channel to join. It's absolutely worth it.
We'll leave you with one final thought. It's a quote directly from the text.
Environment is our basic life support system. It provides the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and the land where we live.
So the question it leaves you with is, how will you help maintain the balance?
Something to think about. Until next time, keep learning.
Goodbye, everyone.